right, welcome to Power Play Garage, another segment. I didn't put out a video on Sunday. Could have made content, didn't want to, really, to be honest with you. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It's not hard work. It works a lot on your brain, especially when you're using an app called CapCut and them changing their platform. So when they make those changes, you got to figure out what in the world's going on, because it wasn't doing that last week or the other day. So you got to adapt and move forward on it. So I needed a break from putting a video out. It takes too long, and I do it mainly, there's two reasons why. One, so that the client gets to see what's being done to their car, and the other is if I'm doing something mechanical that I can help somebody fix theirs and save them some money and maybe some time, or the inconvenience of leaving it somewhere to have them do it. You know, if it's helpful, great. Other than that, it's really not worth it. It's not worth the amount of hours that you put in to do one video. And everybody that does these will tell you the same thing. And then the cost is even kind of ridiculous. And I will not go to the pro part of CapCut and spend that every month, another monthly payment. I don't want to do that. I'm not getting paid for anything. I don't have any sponsors, as I always say. Anytime I'm promoting a tool, there's no sponsorship. So I'm going to do what I can do the best I can and put out hopefully an entertaining or an informative video, so that, you know, everybody gets to do something to their own project or their own vehicle that they drive daily. So today it's going to be about the 33 5-window Dodge Coupe again. It wasn't 100% finished. I had the client, I allowed the client to pretty much take it, because she, in turn, made, basically scheduled her car to be at a certain car show. And being it was safe to drive but wasn't 100% finished, I'm like, okay, no big deal, and then we can start working some of the bugs out, which is normal. You're going to have some things that you're going to need to work out. And there's some of the things that we needed to finish. We needed to finish some electrical work inside this car. I needed to make a trunk latch. I didn't show that. And because it didn't have a trunk latch, it has an automatic popper and trunk release, so that, you know, you can lock the trunk, and I'll show you that in a minute. And being that we're running a whole new wiring harness in here, because the blinkers aren't working. It's not the multi-function switch either. It's something to do with, I believe, might be from Ron Francis's painless wiring harness, that the other person who put that in there put it in there. We're just trying to work out the bugs for that. And then we've been adding things along the way to the engine compartment to better the performance of the engine. So I'm going to show you a few of those things and show you what I'm going to be doing today, because we have to make a change on the belt drives that are on there. I'm not comfortable with the way they are, and we viewed a better way of doing it. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So it's going to be a short video, which is good. Maybe it won't take as long when I go to edit it and post it. So, but at least let's get started. Let me show you what I did for the trunk. So there is an automatic popper, I could say, for the trunk, and it's the bottom switch right there. You pull the knob out, and it releases the lock in the trunk. I don't think the trunk is locked now. No, it's not. I just placed it. So that popper right there and that thing puts pressure and pushes this up a little bit, so that this latch, once it does open, it allows it to lift a little bit. So there was nothing here, nothing at all up in here to, you know, make this work. I believe this is factory. I'm not really sure. But even if it isn't, I had to come up with an idea so that you could latch it and lock it so nothing would get, you know, taken from her. So obviously I made a plate and then a bar, and then actually this thin bar right here is actually a 16 penny nail. Yeah, that worked out great because of the very small diameter right there where it had to go into, and a 16 penny nail was perfect. So, you know, there's the wiring harness. But watch. See, now it's closed. You can't open it. And that's the whole purpose of that. Not that it would really open, because that bonnet right there is heavy. It is heavy. Believe me, I know. I had to take it off. But here's, I believe this is it. Yep. So you hold it out and it'll stay open because you keep the button out. And it did lift it a little bit. I could see the gap there. See? And it's unlocked. So we're going to leave it like that, not locked. And push the knob back in, and that takes care of that. And as you can tell, we have the interior, well, most of the interior out, the seat, the door panels, because we have to fix the poppers for the door latches. They're not working. She ordered a new control box for it, updated one, so that works out well. And I think you can see in my notes there on what they got going on for the Ron Francis setup on turn signals and so forth. So that's been a little bit of a journey. Here's the seat, the one and only seat. And the other thing we put in here, actually we put it in yesterday. She got the correct one for the overflow tank for the radiator. The other one ended up being a temporary thing. When she ordered it, she really wasn't sure on what she was ordering. And this is just a reservoir, say for a power steering unit, that doesn't have fluid container on it or something like that, I guess. I don't know. But this one here has the, the inlet line and then the overflow line, because there's a tube inside here that comes up to about where my finger's at. So that once it reaches that point, anything extra more than that will run out of the bottom end. So that's all in. And then we also hooked up a breather that will catch the oil, because as I mentioned, there's no plates in here to stop the oil from splashing up and hitting the valve right here. And there's no plate on the inside of this valve cover. So, there's no breather, there's no holes underneath the cap. So this is the type of cap that it is. So this one runs over to that, and it'll allow the engine to breathe, let the gases out, whatever it's got to do. And there's the filter, the two lines going in, and there is a drain valve there on the bottom. It's almost like an oil catch can base. I really like that. I believe I mentioned I ordered one for my dually to put it on there. It's a diesel. But today's main event, the way the AC compressor is set up, we ended up with a different style pulley to keep the belt in line, but I believe that this belt should be on the inside of the track of the pulleys, and I'm going to have to space the alternator to come out to the front one. Take this line belt and move it to the front. That means I'm going to make plates to go behind the bracket to move it out. I'll have to take some measurements, see how much it's got to come out. And actually, when we look at it, it seems like the alternator does have a little forwardness to it. It's not 100% tracked, but it's still good tracked, because it stays within the center of the idler pulley that keeps the belt up so that we can get at the power steering cap. So that's going to be my function today, is to realign, readjust, make it basically spacers to fit back there. Hopefully I won't need too longer bolts. It only require 2 in here, and get it all set up. And then I believe it'll track better, because if I go to move the alternator out more, which it would have to go out more, then it's going to interfere. These 2 pulleys will interfere with each other, and that doesn't work. This is an automatic belt tensioner. Not a big fan of this one, but it's part of the system, I guess. And personally, we started looking for a new one, because I don't think it has the full power behind it. And when it's running, there's a nut on the back side of that shaft and it keeps slapping against the housing. So it's constantly making a tapping noise, and that makes me feel like, it's kind of worn out, because they do wear out. Belt tensioners do wear out. So with that in mind, we're on the search for the same style, because I'm not getting into making new brackets and all that other silliness that I've already put into making these brackets, that bracket. So I'm going to get started, because I ain't going to get it done staying on this camera, chit-chatting with y'all. So until I make a couple of moves, stand by. All right, I'm back and about to show something that I wasn't aware of something that broke. And the only reason why I found it is because I'm trying to just tweak the compressor a little more square to the engine, because the company that fabricated these parts to hold the compressor in line that goes off the side of the head where the headers bolt onto, to me just didn't square it up right. So I figured, well, let me make a little bit of change, and the progress was to take this piece off. So I did. In the interim, I discovered that the bracket, which I'm going to show you in a minute, that goes onto here for the adjustment and bolts onto the where the water pump is, was actually broken. I'm like, well, ain't that just sweet? So, okay, so now I got to fix it. And there is the broken piece right there, and it belongs right there. So I'm going to use the same thickness of metal, and basically I kind of think it is, yeah, it's identical. So I'm going to take that, and to make it less stressful on this piece, I noticed that maybe it should be stepped. Basically, if you looked at it from the top view, this maybe should really be like this. Just be on the top. And that would help square this up to the way the compressor should be on the block. But that's my plan. So I'm going to take this piece of metal, and I'm going to draw it out the way this piece is to that on there. Put it basically like that. Then draw it out, drill the hole, cut it, and then weld the new metal to the outside of that plate. And I believe that will help correct and square things up to the pulleys and so forth on the block. So that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do. So stand by. All right, the piece is made, painted. Still waiting for it to dry up a little bit more. You can see the way I welded the repair offset. It's welded all the way around. And the reason why I created the offset is because I really believe it needs that. It's the reason why it cracked in the first place. Too much pressure on that part right there. So next step is to get it all together. And I did tweak this one here a little bit. Took some heat to this, and then I bent it a little bit so that this way I can square the compressor up much better than what it was. And at that point, it's still going to ride on the inside one like I planned. And once that is done, I'm going to start with the alternator bracket. But until then, and I get that started, stand by. Okay, it's finished. It was a little painful, a little aggravating, and I had more annoyance on dealing with the brackets for the alternator, and I'm about to show you that in a minute. But I'm zooming in on, hopefully zooming in on, this bracket here that's now installed. The change I had to make in it, I've had to take spacers out for this pulley right here, which I just got done doing. Actually, two of them, and it seems now that the belt is just lining up pretty darn nice. It probably could be tweaked here or there just a tad, but I don't think I need to go any further with it without actually redoing this whole setup here to get it to go back more. But I think she's going to be really good. So let me lower this part of the hood so that I could open up the other side of the hood Okay, I have four 1 inch thick by inch and a half wide individual plates in there. It needed to go 5/8 of an inch. This totals out to ½ inch. I ran out of material, so I figured, let me give this a try and see if it'll work. And it does work. And I even had to space out. You can see at this pulley, I had to go out and I moved it out a ½ inch. And where it sits right now, it's running right in the middle of that pulley, which is really good. I really don't have any more room if I had to bump it more forward, because then it would start to rub the power steering pulley, and you can't have that. But I believe I would like to put one more of these plates, maybe tomorrow. I'll have the client go pick me up another piece of that metal, and I'll fabricate it and put it in there. That's if she wants to. I think it's pretty darn good, but we'll see what happens. But I already had it running, and nothing's popping, nothing's going crazy. So the next little thing I have to do, which I got to get the right screw to go into the top of the fan shroud on this side to seal it in like I did the other side. But she's definitely all good, hunky-dory. Yep. This side was quite annoying. I actually had to take the alternator off the bracket, even though the adjustment rod was off. But I tried to get around removing the actual the alternator, but it wouldn't let me. And I had these rags in here, so it would rest on there. But it was very difficult to get this bracket, the holding for the alternator, to line up and hold the actual spacers here and get them to go in there. It was really, 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 really fun. But that's all done. So to the next move, stand by. Well, it's the next day and I'm back. And for the majority of the day, we took care of some simple little items. And then we got into the wiring harness again, based on the horns and the wire that was on the car originally, but wasn't sure where it went to. And come to find out, it was for the horns. It's kind of what we were thinking. But it's been a real challenge to figure out how they had the whole circuit running. In the meantime, we also reached out to Ron Francis. They were pretty good help, and the system that's in this car, the wiring harness and the fuse block, is from them. And the fuse block is just right on the opposite side of the side panel here, obviously inside. And it's been a challenge to try to read it, but for the most part, we're getting by. And as you can see there, the steering wheel is off because we've been playing around with the button for the horn and the steering column, which is brand new. And really don't want to get too deep into the steering column part of it, because the other person that originally started helping me out for the request from the client did things that we can't understand why, and now we're just trying to put it all in perspective. So we're going to have to bypass the steering column horn, so to speak, down the hair, and we're going to put a external one and just leave it at that. It's not worth all the amount of time to try to figure it out, knowing that we believe there's a part missing inside the steering column. And I don't know why the person took the steering column apart, a brand new one. But so much for that. I'm going to move on. And so I recently just now have wired in the positive side all the way across, then connecting up in there to come over here. And then tomorrow we'll finish out running the ground from there in the loom that I already have there up into here, and then feed a new line up into the car, ground side, and do it like that to finish it up. It'd be a lot easier than wasting all this time and energy trying to figure out certain things. It's really just not worth it. So that's the plan, and that's going to be the scoop for this. Other than that, and we have to still try to figure out the turn signals for the back and the front of the car. And once that's done and we receive the poppers for the door locks and latches themselves, I believe that'll make the car complete and then on its way. And that'll be a great thing for the client and myself. I really do want to finish this thing up. I really do. I'm not I don't like dragging anything out. Doesn't make sense to do that. I just want to make sure that everything is good, client's happy, and that's that. So this is going to end this segment on this 1933 Dodge 5-window coupe. And hopefully y'all have been watching this segments and stuff on this car. And hopefully if you've been watching, maybe you learned something from it. If not, and you were just enjoying it, that's great. But if you haven't subscribed and you could, that'd be great. Give me a thumbs up, make a comment. That'd be awesome. But until then, try to get something done. Thanks for watching.